right, everybody, you have just tuned into another edition of the Steel City Blitz Steelers Podcast, presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And we have a lot of information to get to tonight, and I'm kind of going to go through this little checklist to start off things right away. First and foremost, happy birthday to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the greatest franchise in the history of professional sports. Was born on this day in 1933, and in what can only be described as the coolest thing in the world, also sharing a birthday with the Steelers, is a guy by the name of Jack Lambert, the great middle linebacker, number 58, the 4-time Super Bowl winner. I mean, how perfect is it that he was born on the same day the Steelers were born? It just talk about stars aligning, okay? But perhaps the most important news of all is Ian is not with us tonight. Ian and his wife brought another child into the world, and they have a daughter, and we're very excited for them. It was to hear Ian tell the story is very funny. This was one of those, honey, I'm having the baby. Oh, there it is, type moments. And but everybody is doing well, and so he's quite busy right now. And in his stead tonight is Ellie Finnerty. She is joining us. And Ellie, how are you this evening?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Oh, you're very well, and I appreciate you not speaking in American. Everybody would have turned off the recording right at that point.
No, they wouldn't.
Well, they may have. And of course, yeah. And of course, usual partner in crime, Ben. Ben, how are things out there in Oregon? Heat wave, cold. What's going on out there?
It was a balmy 75 today. Light breeze, low humidity. It's basically a West Coast day. I mean,
I see. It was none of those things here. Ninth straight day of 90 degrees, and the humidity is creeping up. So good times here in the mitten. Lots and lots of things going on. And first and foremost, we hope that everybody's well. We know numbers of positive COVID-19 cases are rising dramatically in many of the states that folks listen to us from, and we just hope everybody's well. But just a short time ago, we record fairly late in the evenings, and a short time ago, the Steelers PR man, Bert Loughton, announced that the Steelers definitely will be enforcing social distancing at their home games, and they will be requiring all fans to wear a mask. And guys, this can only mean that they still believe that a regular season is going to happen, which is good news. And just as important, that there will be some fans there. But Ellie, let me start with you. Let me ask you a question. And maybe this is a really stupid question. I don't know. Under the current situation, you've got tickets to see the Steelers and the Ravens. Would you go, knowing what you know right now?
Oh, yes, I would.
That is the right answer. No, I'm kidding.
I would probably need to just see what they mean by social distancing, just to see what they actually require. But if they ask me to wear a mask to watch the Steelers play, I will wear a mask.
And see, that point right there, and Ben, I'm going to have you jump in here too. It's very interesting. I saw a couple of pro athletes mention something very similar to that today on social media. They said, if you would please wear a mask, please do it for us, because if you wear a mask, there's a better chance that we get to play for you. And to me, that's a no-brainer. I have no problem wearing a mask. And when you put it like that, I'm even more enticed to wear it because I want sports. And so, Ben, I know you'd be there, right? You wouldn't hesitate.
Yeah, I'd go. I'd be more concerned about flying than I would be about being in the stadium. You're outside. The risk is mitigated by the fact that you're outside. They're going to require social distancing anyway. You probably, would want to take some hand sanitizer with you. I would anyway. Public bathrooms, and all that. Because, once you're drinking those $15 beers in the stadium, you got to keep running back to the bathroom. I mean, that, that happens.
Yes, it does.
So, I wouldn't be concerned about it. I'd be a lot more concerned about flying, and obviously that would be a requirement because I live in Portland, Oregon. So, would I do it anyway? Yeah, I would. I won't lie. I would. I have a training mask that has a carbon filter on it, and
nice.
has an outward port. I'd probably wear that on the plane. It's like this big Darth Vader thing. Well, I would not wear that in the stadium because it would look ridiculous. But outside, my biggest concern would be travel.
I agree with you.
And also because airports are filthy, man. Airports are just nasty
by nature. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, and I think I speak for both of you. I mean, if you told me today that look, you wear a mask everywhere you go outside of your home, and every day, and we're gonna be able to get this season going. And to me, it's a no-brainer. I'm more than willing to do that. I understand there are people that don't like wearing them. I understand that there are people that believe they don't breathe well with them on. Whatever, okay? But selfishly, if it gets me my Steelers and it gets me that feeling of getting away from all this negativity and watching some sports that I love, that I'm all for it, and I'm willing to do
swearing at Ravens fans during the game.
Yes, all that stuff.
All that camaraderie that event brings to
I would
your family.
Right now, I would be I would be more than fine if I was insulted by a Ravens fan right now. I would feel so good about it,
right? It would feel normal.
Yeah, let's just get back to that, In all seriousness, I don't know, and Ellie, I don't know. Ellie, have you seen any of the Premier League games back in the UK since they've restarted?
Yeah, we've been watching them. I've been watching some of the Tottenham games with my dad.
Okay, and so what are your thoughts when you watch that? Now the network, I know NBC Sports Network is piping in they're piping in the sound as if the stands are full. Okay.
Yes.
What has been your reaction watching that? Because the possibility exists. That's what we're looking at. We could be watching a Steelers game where there are very few, if any, terrible towels in the stands. And to me, that's crazy, but it's still football. So, I mean, what have you taken from watching the Premier League?
Well, I actually tried watching both because there's another station, can't remember which one, that offers it without the sound.
Right.
And I instantly had to turn back to the one with the fake crowd noise because it just felt more realistic and it just felt more normal to me. And I guess that's the concern is it won't be normal. The difference though between Premier League I just said football. People are going to hate me. Premier League soccer, and the NFL is so many more fans in NFL stadiums. So it's going to be a much more obvious lack of presence than in a soccer stadium because they zoom in on the game. You can only see the first few rows, whereas during the NFL, we constantly are getting these big, beautiful, zoomed-out views of the terrible towels during Renegade, and we get lots of different images of Browns fans hanging their heads in shame, and I'm going to miss that.
Wow. I love it. No, everything you just said is spot on. And like I said, I don't care. I'm willing to do it. Just if we get football, it's going to suck with the fans. But what I have found fascinating, I guess this is the dork or the nerd part of me, is the guy or gal who has to control what sounds come across. You have to be really paying attention to the game Because if there's a shot that just goes wide, you hit that ooh button,
Yeah.
or something like that.
That's so true.
And so, I've been thinking what that's going to sound like in the NFL, if they pipe in that kind of thing. But we'll move on from that. Ben, as of right now, the NFL is scheduled to play just 2 preseason games. Each team will have a home game. Each team will have an away game. And do we know for sure which games those will be? Are the Steelers keeping weeks 2 and 3? Is that what they're doing?
Well, let's go back to what we were talking about a minute ago with the crowd noise thing.
Sure.
I'm with you in so much as I think that trying to do fake crowd noise at an NFL game would just be corny.
Yeah.
I think it would just be dumb. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of wide angle shots. They'll just change the angle of the cameras and we won't see much of the empty stands and it'll be what it'll be. But there are going to be some advantages. Scuttlebutt anyway.
Yeah.
We're talking about miking up the quarterbacks and miking up a couple defenders so that you can hear the calls on the field. Now,
I wonder what someone like a Seahawks fan must feel, because they're known as the 12th man, right? And the whole point of their fandom is that they play a role. They get loud during the opposition.
I've been to a game. I've been to a game in that stadium. It is incredibly loud. It is ridiculously loud. My ears rung for 2 days afterward. Basically, if you're a Seahawks fan, you're not going to like it because it's going to take away home field advantage. You're not going to have it anymore. And it would have before at Three Rivers, where they had that old style donut stadium where sound just reverberated in there. It was just so much louder than Heinz Field is. Heinz Field's got that open end and it lets all that sound out. And Heinz can get loud, but not like Three Rivers used to.
No.
Three Rivers got so loud that it literally fell apart at one point. It vibrated and a chunk of the stadium fell off in the 90s. I'm not kidding.
Yes, it did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Worth it.
I mean, it was totally worth it. And nobody got hurt. So
thankfully, right.
Yeah.
Okay,
no big deal.
Good. My bad.
But it's just you're going to see varying levels, like dome stadiums. Those teams are going to lose their home field advantage.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to like it for that reason. And I get that. But by the same token, piping in noise is just so corny. And if you are the guy who's controlling the noise, you're going to make it louder during certain points of the game to try and give a disadvantage to the visiting team, which I guess, you would do if there were fans in the stands. But by the same token, this is one guy controlling that. And he's going to make it quieter when the home field's on the team to try and make it easier for them. It's just I'm not really a fan of that idea.
Right.
I think it's dumb.
But they're going to pump it into the actual stadium, because I thought it was going to be like soccer where it's only being played for people at home watching on TV.
I don't know what they're going to do. I'm just talking about what the proposals are at this point. I have no idea what they're going to do, but there is some talk that they are going to try to mic up the quarterback so you can hear the calls on the broadcast, and calls after they get out of the huddle. So when they're sitting there and they're audibling, they're making changes and they're changing the fits on defense, you're going to be able to hear the middle linebacker make those calls, and you're going to be able to hear the quarterback doing the audible and changing. I don't know that I am really a big fan of that idea, but they're trying to do whatever they can to enhance the fan experience.
Sure.
So they might do it. Then you're just going to have to change calls like every week because people are going to pick up on that.
Well, as a fan, Ben, I love it, but then you're exactly right. That's the problem. Now, if I'm the team, though, I've got to change up every week because it's pretty easy to know what's going on if you're the next week's opponent.
And as far as missing, shots of Browns fans hanging their heads in shame, they're accustomed to losing, guys. They are accustomed to coming
brown paper
into
bags
a stadium with the playoffs on the line and losing to a 4-string quarterback. This is old hat for them. This is not a big deal, honestly.
I know, but it's so nice to see.
I mean, I I don't think this is even anything. I mean, they've experienced 0-16. I mean, can it be any more humiliating? Honestly, I know a guy who bought tickets at the Brown Stadium that season for $6.
Yes, my neighbor did.
$6.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
My neighbor took his entire family, four people, to a Browns. I believe it was the Chargers towards the end of the 0-16 season, maybe a year before that when they were like 2 and whatever. But they spent less than $60 in the stadium. That's tickets, concessions, everything.
Oh, wow. I would think
Wow.
yours would be regular price.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Wow.
But
Crazy.
Yeah.
They actually paid for that?
Pardon me. That's
Sorry.
funny. That's funny. We'll get back to the Browns in a little while. But as we were talking, the Steelers do have the 2 scheduled preseason games. The NFLPA Players Association has come forward and said, we really don't want any preseason games. They just feel like it's not worth the risk. The preseason games for many of the players, not all, but many of the players, doesn't mean much. Ellie, put yourself in their position, put yourself in the position of an owner who you do make some money off those games. I mean, what is your feeling on should we just scrap it and go right to the regular season? What would you like to see happen?
It's a difficult one because if you are scrapping them to reduce the risk of players catching COVID-19, what's the difference? The difference, honestly, between catching it in the first preseason game and the first regular season game is that first regular season game, losing them for 2 weeks or however long it takes for you to test negative again is huge compared to the preseason. But that being said, you could catch it in preseason, you can catch it in the regular season. Does it really make any difference? What are you really trying to protect them from, players from, by lessening those games if it's really only about the virus? Unfortunately, the risk is always going to be there. But at the same time, I do understand where the NFLPA is coming from in scrapping them to reduce the risk of contact by 2 games. 2 less, maybe we're doing something to prevent an outbreak or a spread throughout the NFL, perhaps. I don't really know why they want to scrap them, but I can see an argument for it, and I've seen players make an argument for it. So I wasn't surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if we lost the other 2 preseason games and went straight into the regular season.
Yeah, I think you make a very good point about the timing, because the common refrain has been that 2 weeks is what's needed. And yeah, if I'm a coach, I definitely would rather my guy missed those final 2 weeks of preseason than important regular season games that count, obviously. But and Ben, this too. Coaches demand those preseason games. They have to evaluate players. Yeah. I mean,
especially young players.
Exactly.
Preseason is really valuable for building your roster long term.
Yep.
And there are going to be young players that aren't going to make the team, that get cut, that otherwise would have made the team this year because they're unknown quantities. And
that's so true.
Being that guy, on the bubble, that's really tough this year. So I feel for those guys, and the NFLPA isn't taking that into consideration. The overarching point here is that the NFL and the NFLPA still have a lot of things to work out, and we're supposed to report to camp in less than 3 weeks.
Yep.
It's a little ridiculous. In my opinion, they should be working on this stuff every day, like it's the CBA, and maybe they are, and they're just keeping it secret. But man, it doesn't feel like it right now. There seem to be new developments daily. Well, and the other thing we need to consider, take into consideration is this. Ellie mentioned that if someone tests positive, they're going to be yanked out for 2 weeks. Yeah, but right now, protocol with contact tracing is that you quarantine everybody that person is coming to contact with for 2 weeks. So if they have an outbreak on the team, let's just say, I don't know, 7 guys test positive, the whole team could be quarantined for 2 weeks. And that's the thing they're talking about as it relates to baseball already.
Yes. Yep.
You know, whether or not that's going to be a reality and it's going to end up canceling sports for the year because teams are going to have to forfeit games because they don't have a team to field. And that could happen in the NFL. So I don't really know what to expect here. I don't know how to make it, you know, be a thing where these guys aren't going to have to worry about it. They have families at home. If their kids are in daycare, you know, kids pass around diseases like Rastafarians pass around joints at concerts. And, you know, I just think eventually somebody's going to get sick. And
I don't know how they can't.
For all I know, you know, let's just say 10 guys test positive from the Eagles the day after the Steelers game, and they played in Pittsburgh on Sunday. Now what? Do we quarantine both teams because they just played a game? You know, and then there's a flip side of it. These guys are professional athletes. They're in good shape. They should, in theory anyway, have very strong immune systems and be resistant to this. So I don't know what to expect exactly. I'm a little bit bewildered still at this point as to whether or not there's going to be a season and whether or not there will be fans in the stands at all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be optimistic. I hope there will at least be football. If we have to choose between fans in the stands and no football, no fans.
Yeah. No brainer. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So, you know, Ellie, one of the things I've heard a lot of guys talk about in all the sports, whether it be hockey, basketball, baseball, football, is, you know, some of the guys have said, you know, look, I'm worried about my family. You know, how would you approach that? I mean, do you support your loved one and say, I know this is what you worked so hard to do? And I mean, especially for the guys that Ben mentioned, you know, those bubble players who, or maybe guys that have been in the league a few years, and every single year it's just right down to the line to the 52nd or 53rd guy. I mean, do you know what I mean? How do you approach that in terms of the health risk versus I just need to go play?
You know, this is something that I really thought that they'd have come up with a solution for a while ago because, like Ben said, we're less than 3 weeks until camp. Was that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and we still have no idea. And those players that have these big what ifs hanging over their heads, you know, that is a point where you are basically saying, do I sacrifice my health for my job? Which so many people are doing already. So, you know, this is something that millions of people are already dealing with. And now on top of that, you're asking another bunch of people to make that sacrifice on a different level. And I just don't know. I don't know how you, I have no idea. You know, I was just thinking about it when you were talking about it, about how you're right. Those preseason games are the difference between making the 53 and not making the 53 for dozens of players. And now we're saying that we may not have that opportunity to give them that chance. Would they want that chance? Do you put it to the players and say, do you want to play these preseason games? But then that's such a difficult one. I don't actually have an answer.
No,
and neither does the NFL apparently.
No, and I think you're being honest. I think this is exactly where a lot of people are right now. And you know, Ben, to that sort of point, you know, my first wind of this was when Devin Bush tweeted about 35%, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? You know, and you kind of figure things out. I'm not a mathematical genius by any stretch, but I kind of figured out what he was getting at. what is it that the owners have allegedly proposed to the players in the last 24 hours?
It's not alleged. Look,
yeah.
I understand the owner's proposal, and I also understand why the players are going, oh, hell no way.
Yeah.
The risk is increased this year, and you guys want us to take a pay cut? Okay, so the owners have gone to the NFLPA and said, look, you're getting half the pie.
Mm-hmm.
You get 50%, we get 50%. We want you to assume 50% of the risk. And the way we want you to do that is we want the players to take 35% of their salaries each week and put it in escrow. And if we, as a result of this virus, we're going to use that fund. Mm-hmm. And my understanding is that the NFL would match that fund dollar for dollar.
Okay. Ben, did I lose you? Yeah, I think I lost Ben there. Yeah, I lost you for a minute there, Ben. Go ahead and just kind of go over what you were talking about.
You there?
Yeah, we're here. We lost you for about 5 seconds.
Okay, so basically, oh, great. Okay.
I lose you again?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. So basically you were saying the owners will put this in the escrow.
The owners will match it dollar for dollar, supposedly. Yeah, Uber Conference has given us problems. Yeah. And if they should do that, mm-hmm. there'll be a slush fund there to address additional costs and lost revenues.
Right.
Okay. The players, by the same token, are just going, no, this isn't the time to spring this on us. You should have come to us with this, 6 weeks ago or 2 months.
Yeah.
Long time. We want to go to work, but we're not going to show up and play until this is hammered out. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I can understand from D. Smith's perspective how difficult this will be to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think he should try and sell it.
Really?
If they really are partners with the NFL, he's got to try to sell it to his constituents. I don't anticipate the players swallowing this. I do not see it happening, but an attempt should be made, in my opinion, because straight up, it's business.
Yeah.
It's just flat out business. And there definitely will be lost revenues. There definitely will be increased costs as a result of what's going on. And, it's probably going to impact a lot of things. And if they don't take some measures this year
mm-hmm.
to try and address that, the repercussions mm-hmm. will be felt into the next season and the one after. It's just business. And, it's got to be explained to those guys that way. I don't know how many of them will really understand it. I mean, I'll give you an example. Antonio Brown didn't realize his agent got paid 3% of his contract before taxes. How the hell can you be a professional athlete for 10 years and not know that? But he didn't know and got pissed off when he found out.
How dare you take my 3%? And one thing I do want to point out is that, Devin Bush, when he tweeted the piece that you were just talking about, he took a lot of crap from Steelers fans, about, I haven't been in work in months and quit whining. And some people even took it all the way to the whole, you better stand for the flag stuff. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh boy.
But one thing I can only speak for myself personally. I talk to my own kids about this and stuff. And, you got to put yourself in somebody else's shoes before you start going off verbally and espousing what you think they should do and everything else. And I thought the kid, and I say kid, Devin Bush is a young man.
21.
And he's 21 years old. And I thought he handled himself very, very well. I thought he gave some really good responses. about the fact that he is an entertainer. He works his tail off, and nothing he said was false. And, so I guess people are just going to have to recognize that the money aspect, and Ben, as you pointed out, it's a business. It's not going away, and it's going to be an issue. And I know, Ellie, you mentioned too, why haven't they been doing this a long time ago? It's almost like it crept up on them, and now it's like, oh, geez, okay.
I think the thing that people need to realize, and I point this out to people all the time, and they don't fucking care, but that's like most things with finances in NFL. People that don't understand it, most of them don't want to gain an understanding, which is fine. But if you don't want to gain an understanding, don't fucking bitch.
Right.
Seriously.
Absolutely.
Do not complain. If the owners pay less to the players, they're not going to give that back to you in reduced concessions and ticket prices. They're going to pocket it. Mike Brown is a prime example. The Raiders were a prime example for years. They probably won't be anymore because they moved to Vegas. But these teams didn't pay anybody and then kept the additional revenues for themselves. Mm-hmm. This is not a zero-sum game where, it's like, oh, well, we're paying our players less, so we're going to lower ticket prices. No, hell no. That's not happening. So you compare your life and your income in your industry to what those guys can make and react with resentment. It's ridiculous. It's like comparing apples and oranges, literally, because they've got to, not only do they have to make as much money as they can inside a finite window, because NFL careers on average aren't that long.
Unless you're Pat Mahomes.
They also need to make sure that they are taking as big a piece of the pie as they can, because the owners are going to keep as much as they possibly can, and they're not giving anything back to the fans. It ain't happening. So it's not like the players are the bad guy here.
No, and we're seeing this across the board and a number of different worlds, whether it be the sports world and obviously in government and education, and we're just seeing this all over, and it's all a residual effect of what's happening with the pandemic. So I did want to take a few minutes to talk some actual football stuff here, and I know it's been hard just because of everything going on. Football. But before I do that, I know, believe it or not, don't forget, we are sponsored very proudly by Deck Roofing, serving Broward County and the southern Palm Beach counties of Florida. Whether it's commercial, residential, multifamily, or condos, contact Deck Roofing today by visiting deckroofing.com. Chase Claypool, those rookies, and he was obviously the first one that the Steelers drafted back in April. I want to first give a shout out to Kel, our kind of our new videographer, if you will. She threw this together. Yeah. And she did a really, really nice job with the highlight video of Chase Claypool. She's got some music on it. I mean, it's awesome, and check it out on our YouTube page. But, Ellie, we have some wide receivers. I mean, assuming we go ahead and see this season, what do you think he can do? What are you thinking for Chase Claypool? And so at the end of the year, you can say that dude's going to be awesome.
Oh, I remember when we drafted him, and there was somebody who put out a tweet about him being, was it the top receiver in the draft class to have the most catches over 20 yards or something like that. Yeah. And I had this vision of Ben just throwing these rockets across the field and Chase Claypool being the one to catch them at the end. Mm-hmm. And if we could just get one of those, I think I would probably clap my hands and say, consider that a done deal. That was good. Well worth the pick. I love that one. I would love to see that. But outside of something that awesome, I do see him I would love to see him have a huge part of special teams, especially if we do utilize Deontay Johnson more as a receiver, and I could see maybe Chase Claypool becoming more of a special teams kind of a dominant guy, at least in his first year. I think that's something the Steelers do pretty often. That would be brilliant. And then you remember we did bring in Deon Cain last season, and he was a big guy, and we utilized his size a few times, and maybe Chase Claypool could step into his role as well and be a similar kind of receiver, making these kind of big impact plays where necessary, utilizing his size. He's also really fast. You know, he's kind of a unicorn. You don't get as many tall, big, fast players these days. You kind of get these like little nifty guys that are kind of 5'10" and below, making super speedy catches. He could potentially do that, and he's clearly been working very hard. We've been seeing it on social media. So I could see a Deon Cain kind of style for him, which would probably mean we'd lose Deon Cain, which
hopefully he's got better hands than Deon Cain.
And I like Deon Cain, but I think he does. And just again, another plug, check out the YouTube page, Steel City Blitz YouTube page, and you'll see the video. And like I said, Kel did a great job. She focused on not only his combat catches, but also running after the catch. I mean, she's got a little bit of everything in there. So check that out. You know, Ben, where do you see him? I mean, there's James Washington, there's Deontay, as Ellie mentioned, obviously Juju. I mean, you know, where do you fit this kid in?
I think we should bear in mind that he's going to, at least, enter the season as a number 4 receiver. So he's not going to get a ton of snaps,
especially now. Yeah, but
I think it's realistic, truly, for him to have like 30 catches and, you know, over 400 yards. And as far as playing special teams go, I don't know how much of his film you guys have watched, but he is an absolute bully when it comes to defensive backs. Yeah, that was the first thing I said when they drafted him. He is a bully, and I love it. I love it. And yeah, combat catches are going to be a specialty. He high points the ball well. He's got good hands. Deon Cain does not. He is a physical guy, 6'4", about 240, super lean. He's got good leaping ability. He's fast off the line. I think he can work on his route running a little bit, get a little bit sharper. But, you know, that's going to come with time. I'm not super concerned about that. I just want him to get in, learn the system. That's another thing. He's going to be at a disadvantage because
massive.
He hasn't had mini camp. He hasn't had OTAs. They haven't had, you know, the rookie mini camp. Nothing. He hasn't. I don't know how much work he's had with Ben, if he's had any. You know.
That's a good point.
You know, and it's difficult. Steve Young, who I'm not a huge fan of as a commentator, but he made a really good point a long time ago. He said, you know, the relationship between a quarterback and a wide receiver is like a dance. You both know what the other one is going to do at all times, and you're both in tempo with one another. Yeah. And it takes some time to build that. And he's going to be at a disadvantage going into the season as it relates to his relationship with Ben that way. And it's going to take some time to build, but I still think 25, 30 catches this year is realistic, and absolutely he'll play special teams. And I won't be surprised if he's not a very good special teams player. I hope Deontay Johnson, since you brought it up, is the punt returner again. I really hope so.
Yeah,
but
I like him there too.
I kind of wonder how long that's going to last, because I think that by the end of the year, he may very well be the number 1 receiver.
Yeah, I tend to think things are skewing in that direction as well. And as we wrap things up here on the Steel City Blitz Steelers podcast, I did want to shift into just one more thing. And that one more thing is the Browns fans on Twitter this week, especially. Why do they come after Steelers fans, Ellie? Why do they come after us? Because
this week?
Well, all the
2
time.
years.
For whatever
2 years.
Reason, I know.
Back-to-back off-season paper champions. How How many?
Ellie, you do as well as anyone I've seen on Twitter as at just avoiding the crap. But I mean, why do they keep coming after us? I mean, they rip on us for all these things, and it's like,
sounds like you're whining, Mark. I'm not. Really
have you looked in the mirror, people? You know, that's what I keep coming back to. I mean, what goes through your head, Ellie?
The main reason, honestly, there are two main reasons why I avoid them. Number one, it's exactly what they want, and I refuse to give them what they want because they love it. It's like it brings them such joy.
Yeah, it's a drug.
They absolutely adore it. I saw a Browns fan say, "It's been a really great day for Browns Twitter today." I was like, wow, what a reach. The second reason is because Browns fans, the team certainly gives them very little to work with. True. There's only so much of the back and forth that focuses on sports before it gets personal. And in my opinion, the very minute someone gets personal, you have won the argument because they have nothing left to work with in terms of their team.
Yeah.
So therefore you've won. The very second someone says something about your appearance or anything of it's personal, I consider it, okay, I'm walking away because I've won this one because you have nothing left to give me. All you can do is go personal. And I know it works on both ways, but that's honestly how I feel. As soon as I see someone say something offensive about somebody's looks or their personality or whatever, I'm like, you won that one, dude, because they have nothing left to give you. So all they can do is get personal. And for me, I'm not going to entertain it. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think that's perfectly well said. Ben, you got like 1 minute to chime in.
I just don't get it. I think it's pathetic. I used to feel sorry for Browns fans because I thought they were really good fans that had a bunch of really shitty owners. Yeah. And you know, the last couple of years, at least on social media, their fans have just been jackasses. And they come back and say, well, Steelers fans are jackasses. Okay, well, I wasn't a jackass to you, so I don't really get where this is coming from, but have a nice day. Enjoy another 6-10 season and your head coach getting fired. And I'll go ahead and time changing my the filter on my furnace out for every time your coach gets fired. Thanks.
Oh, my God.
And there's some accuracy in that. We're going to wrap things up here. Once again, thanks for listening, and make sure you hit the website, steelcityblitz.com, on Twitter at SC Blitz, and of course, facebook.com/SteelCityBlitz. We're on Instagram too. You can see lots of cool grilling pics, amongst other weird things. But
you're weird, all right.
Yeah, you got that right. Yeah, thanks to both Ben and Ellie for joining me tonight. And again, congratulations to Ian and his wife on the birth of their daughter. And we will get out of here until next time. And we're signing off. And hey, go Steelers.
Ravens suck.